So let me officially welcome everyone here and also everyone who's watching the recording to our Summer Refresh series. This is the second part of our series. Today, we're going to be talking about self-discovery to self-mastery. Sounds great. So if you are new to Women's Federation, and to us. My name is Katrina Connery. I'm Vice President for Women's Fed USA, and I'm also coordinating activities in our New Jersey local chapter. And yeah, this topic is definitely within our mission and vision as Women's Federation. Just self-discovery, self-mastery. We're big advocates for peace through internal transformation. Got to know ourselves, find the inner peace before we can bring positive impact in the world. So I'm excited. I hope if you missed the last one, you can check out the recording about growing gracefully. So also, if you weren't with us last time, I'm just going to introduce our speaker again, Ms. Ritu Chopra. She's one of our HerStory awardees at Women's Federation. She inspires people with her coaching sincerity and professional leadership experience that includes managing business and IT operations in Fortune 500 companies for over 20 years. She's an international speaker, a certified executive coach, author, TV show host, and a humanitarian. Some of her works as an author include Art of Life and Mastering Life. So today you're going to learn about mastering life. Sounds great. And so these books focus on personal mastery to achieve success in personal and professional domains. And she recently released a new book, Women Leadership in the 21st Century, that focuses on a holistic approach to leadership for women of all generations. So without further ado, let us welcome our main speaker for today, Ms. Ritu Chopra.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you for the warm welcome. Yes, so I appreciate you mentioning that inner transformation and personal, the road to self-mastery is the inner transformation. So I'll talk a little bit more about it during the course of the next hour or so. So I could start with sharing my screen. Okay, can you hear me all right? Excellent. All right. Okay, so who is Ritu? Katrina, thank you for the introduction. I just want to share that I am a person who embraces what life throws at me. I wear many hats. Life gave me a lot of opportunities, some by choice, some circumstantial. So I embraced a lot. I call myself a techie runaway filmmaker. Didn't had any idea that or ever any ambition to make films, but this became a healing project, which won many national, international awards, and that led to setting up a nonprofit, which is in education and awareness of gender-based violence. It's all inclusive. Most of the work that I do under that nonprofit is women empowerment, and trying to resolve differences without creating any conflict, etc. So, who am I? A curious explorer. I think we all have a some sort of a desire to not only just find our purpose, but at the same time where our belonging is. To me, I call myself a global citizen. In true sense, I had worked with people from every continent on the planet in the last 25 years of my corporate IT, which really gave me not only the real interaction with people from different cultures and backgrounds, but also as a young child, I learned the story of Cinderella in my native language in a major paper that has a children's section. So I just was fascinated by it. And ever since I had this desire to learn how other people live their lives, etc. So I call myself into that, as a global citizen. Also, had been on a spiritual journey for quite some time. And I find that our inner peace, our inner transformation, the process of our growth is just not in material sense and going higher into our titles or making more money, but also growing internally. And I just use this picture and want to just kind of talk about it. Last year, I had an opportunity to visit Banff National Park during COVID lockdowns and period trapped in. It was such a welcome visit that, especially this spot that where I was standing on early morning around 9 a.m. This was such a peaceful, such uh, a beautiful moment that I call it, that you connect to the all elements of the nature that we are made of, all five elements. And a discussion took place. Okay, you have ether, you have earth, you have air, you have water, you have everything right there. And we're about fire, and I see that is in your heart as a desire to be alive, and alive in the sense not that you're breathing and alive, but it's just fully alive, living life. So that's that's the whole process of mastering the skills of life that I would go through. So this program is based on my book, Mastering Life, and the principles that I have in here, I lived those principles from a very devastating stage in my life to where I am. It had been quite a journey of bitter and sweet experiences. However, it was all a process that I understood and implemented and repeated it over and over, where it became really a routine in a sense that it was working very well. So the in an essence, mastering life is this: your life, your agenda, your dreams and goals. Keywords here are at your pace and your strength. Every one of us is designed differently, has different strengths, have different circumstances. So if something works for one person, may not work for another person. When I hear that, a 100-day formula or 30 days goals and things like that, they all have a good intention. And when I hear that, if I can do it, you can do it, it's very inspirational. In a good sense, it's telling people that it's not that difficult if you set your mind to, but um, it's not always doable for everyone. So they have to search through their own self, where they stand, how much stamina they have, how much strength they have, what their source of strengths are, who they can depend upon. It's a whole lot of things. So some may need take two steps and take a pause. Others would take 1, 2, 3 and run with it. So those types of uh, conversation of that you could do it, yes, but you can only take the horse to the water. So I talk about this a lot, that at your pace and your strength, as you see, where I was in a very devastating, life-threatening circumstances, to having these honors and accolades. It happened at a pace. I didn't allow my dreams or goals to die away, but it took very long time. So that's the process that I talk about, because I applied it to myself. I did that over and over. I worked with many people, and I saw those transformation, and people saw those transformation. So the result of this whole set of principles that I applied. I divided them, I designed them into the 7 keys, and we'll go through them one by one. And so I just want to go back to this slide for a moment. I'd like to talk about this cover. It's a stock image of mountaintops, Himalayas, and there's nothing extraordinary about this. We have all seen these types of images many, many times. What's so significant is the philosophical thought that I had at that time was that, like, if we have goals, we all talk about in our corporate life or wherever we work, we talk about goals, dreams, etc., etc. So if we take goals as being at the peak, and there's always something else to go to, and the goals being as the shiny peaks, the glittering shiny peaks, and when you look at the next one, there are shadows and dark valleys and a distance to cover. We may not have the strength, the tools, the skills, the know-hows to get to the next peak. So that's how usually the life is. So that's kind of a philosophical analogy I have about it. I just wanted to, go back and share. And how does the course differs from reading a book? Okay, um, very much is different from reading a book, because reading is a very different skill than active listening. And the participating in a course is that brings in not only the tremendous value to the contents of the program, but also gives us an opportunity to learn from each other and be very intentional and mindful about it. That this becomes a sort of exercise that we allow ourselves time to and understand to the go into the depth and breadth of those principles. So, if I may, I would like to just share 2 or 3 random quotes from the book, and that would give you an idea that, it's so easy to sometimes miss a valuable piece of information. Just like watching a movie, you watch it for the second time, and you hear or see something that you may have not remembered seeing it for the first time. The same thing. We may not pick out something really relevant if we read the book. So, and also reading book is very at the dependency of the person, of the reader, because you put away the book. If it's not really engaging you, you can put away the book at any time, or you have an interruption, you can put it away. But in a course, it's very different. Being part of that community and really taking time to go into the self-discovery process that I have designed. So I'll share a couple of quick quotes here. So we are responsible for our decisions, our choices, and their outcome. We cannot hold others responsible for our actions. The decision we make are the results of our knowledge, our understanding, our perception, our wisdom, and sometimes are influenced by our circumstances. So, in our decision making processes, then the choices we are making, conscious or unconscious. So, this is a combination of many things, as I mentioned, you know. So the next quote is that we have no control over what life gives us. We can use our ability to think before making choices and accept its outcome willingly. Next, and I think that's we will talk about this a little bit more. People resist change. How to communicate the right way is not an ability or skill to express feelings, but the lack of willingness to learn the change. Okay. So I will continue with. So the self-discovery, what is it? So our journey becomes pretty much similar. With our own set of circumstances, we arrive here. Even though the process of coming uh, to this planet, this earth, in our families is the same, right? So, but our circumstances are different. We come in like a clean slate. We grow from our environment, our circumstances given that our families, our geographical locations, culture, whichever we are part of, and that's where our journey begins. And so often that we hear that the forming years shape us. So that's exactly what's happening. We are being shaped into our circumstances of early childhood. Okay, so if the process of the self-mastery, if we talk about continuous, what is it? Is a introspection, self-analysis, uh, self-assessment, however you could relate to. So what I call it, the discovery is that we need to assess ourselves. The mastery is just like for any skill, profession, or either someone is a electrician, plumber, cook, or any other skill, to be a master for that skill or domain, they need to keep practicing, practice and practice before they can call themselves masters. Right. So is the life. The life is we need to keep working on what life throws at us. Very often, those challenges that we're not prepared, and honing our life skills are, we don't come with manuals, we don't come with any, our parents don't get any instruction manuals. We learn by our through our circumstances and challenges that we have. To become master uh, of those life skills, we need to develop those inner strengths. So here, the image that you see is the inner strength I call is the beauty. That is the beauty. It is, and like our core muscle is uh, a very strong uh, v- power to have. So no matter how much mud and dirt is thrown onto that beauty, the beauty still shines through. So that's kind of an analogy that I want to make here. In order to master life, we need to understand ourselves first. That's the self-discovery process, and improve upon our outlook and perspective to master the skills for living life joyfully. So these are the 7 keys: conquer deep-rooted fears and nurture your inner self. That's the outcome of the whole process. There's very much interconnected, and as the full course divided in 10 different modules, there is so much information that going through the processes of self-discovery to going through each key, they are so interconnected. There is so much, it reveals to ourselves that we are blind spots to so many areas that we never maybe didn't think about it. So we to go through this process that is just kind of peeling those layers of onions, right? So the achieve peaceful state of mind, calmness, tranquility, and shift in awareness, ideals, and develop refreshed outlook. I find the third one is really important because it's just not once you do it. I apply these things, these analyses very often, and I find it that a lot of external circumstances as they are changing, and in our chaotic world, they change very often. And as we start becoming aware of and just being adopting the change that suits us and suits our loved one or our life or our goals, um, it's a very good way to have a refreshed outlook towards those changes. Handling conflict, contradiction, and criticism. Here, I think the contradictions is a very key word. That the contradictions are within ourselves. As Katrina earlier said, that the inner transformation, that is the process of here bringing in those contradiction. First, you uncover them, discover them what they are, analyze them, and then you start working towards that. And moving along, overcoming inner battles. I can say that all of us have a number of challenges at different stages in our lives. Our loved one, family members, brothers, sisters, siblings, close friends, they're going through that. We get entangled into their pain, suffering, or experiences, what's is causing us. So there is a lot of things that are happening that we put it under the covers or in the darkness, because sometimes those things are difficult and hard to accept. uh, they stay there unless they are dealt with, because sometimes they are going to raise their ugly head. Anything that's under the rug, that's gonna show up. um, as I said, shift in awareness, the rearranging our outlook to rise above the ordinary. It's kind of the, like I said, interconnected. We'll go into very much details into each of those keys, and finally expressing love, tolerance, and compassion. And I want to move along. We will talk more on those. Okay. So the key number one, the conquer deep-rooted fears and nurture your inner self. So let me just kind of read this first. Your expectations of yourself and your expectations of others, and others' expectations of you, uncertainties and blind spot. So let me just kind of talk about it a little bit. Your expectations of yourself. The hardest part is, what do I expect from myself? We may talk about our goals, our professional aspirations, etc., but hardly we take time to really go into those inner conversation of what do I expect of myself. We can easily identify our expectations of others. That's meaning people around us in our lives, at work, in social circles. So it's easier one. Others' expectations of you is pretty easy. We kind of hear very often, what do they expect us to? Anything that we fall short of, we get reminded pretty quickly. Finally, the uncertainties and blind spots, that's again is the harder one. So when we are in a very tough spots ourselves, they could be very painful, very uncomfortable areas. So sometimes we see that we don't know which way to turn. It's a very uncomfortable spot to be. And what happens is that if we find people around us are in the same boat or in the same situation, or in this case of this image of the same mountain, so we don't know where to turn to, which is the right way. But that's where our inner strength comes in. That's where we discover and we find that that is our self-motivated process that takes us elsewhere. And I used to often ask, well, I used to give these workshops in person, and said, if I give you a full a book rack full of motivational book, would you be motivated? Of course, the answer was always no, right? So books, bookcase full of motivational books will not motivate anybody, right? So the motivation comes from inside. It is our own willpower, perseverance, our journey that we take. So that is the nurturing ourselves through identifying the deep-rooted fears and finding way from those uncomfortable places. Okay. Um, so so this is this process of the self discovery or self inquiry, self analysis that goes through the introspection, and this is designed into three different areas in the full course. I think, Katrina, if there was a poll, would you mind sharing the first poll?
Okay, I launched the poll, so I hope you can see it.
Okay. Yes. So, okay. Do you have the results?
I have 0% participated.
Uh,
I can't,
I didn't know what to do.
do you see where you can click one of the buttons?
Now I see. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I can't answer the questions because I launched it.
Okay, so I had minimized my screen and I would have to stop sharing to find that. Would you be able to read those, Katrina, the poll
Yes.
questions?
So
Okay.
the question was, do you often, I'm gonna admit this person, do you often ask yourself questions about your well-being, goals, desires, and ambitions in life? The answers are yes, or no, or don't know what to ask myself.
Okay.
And we have 2 out of 2 people answered no.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that is the case. We really usually don't, right? Because sometimes we get too trapped into the daily lives, doing our duty, doing our jobs, all of that. And if there is something that we need to nurture ourselves, overcome any hurt, any disappointments or anything, or there are goals that we do want to at some point in our life that they become very important. So that is the process that we need to ask those questions. Or sometimes we don't know where to get started, and that's okay. So this self-discovery process, questionnaires are designed into 3 phases, and I will talk about it a little bit more. So that is the part of the introspection. So it would the starting with in a very beginning of our visible lives that we can see what we do from day to day, week to week, wherever we are in the stages of our lives. So, discovering those inner conversations that we get into a little bit deeper, the second stage of this inner conversation and understanding oneself, finding the path that meets our purpose in life. So, understanding oneself, an inner conversation, that would be, I would say that uh, the second mid part of those discovery process, um, that is we set aside things because either it's not the right time for those lofty goals or whatever those are, or bucket list, anything that that you consider as a life goal, um, or it might be as much as simple as something just being joyful. It's just that at life at your pace and at your agenda, at your pace and at your strength sort of process. Okay. Continuing on to the key 2, achieve peaceful state of mind, calmness and tranquility. So why state of mind and calmness is important? I mentioned this book was my initiative that I wrote in a very difficult stages that I was going through in my life. That gave me a completely new outlook and shifted my mind from pain to something that I was doing worthwhile. So without reaching the state of calmness, our mind remains into very chaotic place. Load of information or overload of information or constantly demanding priorities, etc. So there's no peace if we say allow circumstances or the demands of life rule us. Achieving that state of mind is not a far-fetched goal. It can be, once we go through the discovery process, to see that which is exhausting our energy, it's not needed, not required, taking up your mind away, deep-rooted fears. There's so many things you could cross out of the list and freeze up so much load And not only the load from your mind, but you feel physically much more relaxed. And that is where you kind of start connecting yourself. What's my purpose in life? And usually that is the process that takes people um, to become more productive, if I may say, productive in a sense of that I can accomplish more. And because we're letting go, it's just um, chewing up a lot of our energy. And I like that baby elephant, just like so unaware of the surroundings. Okay, achieving peaceful state of mind, calmness, and tranquility, as I mentioned, that all begins with a self-inquiry. We're able to identify my agenda, my dreams and goals at my pace and my strength. So I may be at a stage where I have other priorities right now, such as parents with young kids. So I cannot really think of my goals right now because my immediate priorities are the infants or the small adolescents or small kids at home. They are my priority, but I do want to. And what steps you should be taking right now if that is a desired goal, so when the time comes you can achieve them. So those are the kind of things people can discover through this process, because you keep it at your pace and your strength, and just keeping them alive if that's so important to you. And again, it is your agenda and you need to find that through this discovery process. Okay. So going into key number 3, shift in awareness, ideals, and developing refreshed outlook. I did earlier mention that shift in awareness is real important. And I want to just talk about this image here that as you see, the flower, lotus flower, is connected with Buddhism, meditation, etc. a lot. And there are a lot of philosophical meaning to it. Not only it just looks so beautiful, but it grows in murky waters. But as you notice, the beauty of the flower, regardless of the muddy water it grows in, is so enchanting. And the leaves, you see, they're so silky. If the muddy water or the droplets of the water come on, they don't damage the leaf at all. So we all can see that. That's the visible part of it. So the philosophical meaning here is that lotus grows into muddy waters and still has a beauty. And then the property of the lotus that is not very commonly known is that if the water levels rise, the stem of the lotus would rise equally. So if the water would rise 3 or 4 inches, the stem would rise. So it's always floating above the water. And this analogy is associated with these concepts that you always develop those inner strength to always afloat whatever your surroundings are, either be as muddy water, etc. So that's where I would like to bring attention to the shift in awareness. So our awareness is in so many ways connected to our personal agendas and goals. Mine can be very different than next person. Okay, so I'll keep moving. And the part of that awareness are, as we talk about the self-talk and their mind's stimulus response. Our mind is agitated and keeps really very actively engaged into thoughts. And those thoughts may not be always productive, maybe generated with fear, maybe be a process of what we are put through, etc. So my question to you are you aware of the conscious, subconscious choice you make? As earlier I had mentioned that we are always, creating that something as our agenda, and in that process we have made a lot of decisions, either conscious or subconscious, that they become part of our reality. And I think that was one of the quotes that I shared from the book. So they are the results of a knowledge or understanding or perception or wisdom, and sometimes influenced by our circumstances. We cannot hold others responsible, so they are ours to own. So those are the things that we discover in a self-discovery process. And where we're stuck in our thought process, or even in the journey that's just leading us to our next goal, etc. So these all of them are part of I would still say the second part of that middle part of the self-discovery. Okay. The next is the handle conflict, contradictions, and criticism. Conflicts are always opportunities to find and identify them. How we can better communicate and connect with other fellow beings, people, family members, people we work with or socialize with. So this sometimes is an interesting process to go through this self-discovery process, because I feel like that self-analysis is always better than reprimand. So things that we understand about ourselves, we can take initiatives to bring in. A contradiction is in a very detailed conversation through the workbooks and other processes that we have in place. And the criticism, not everyone deals with it well. Right now, with the technology, the shelter the technologies provides, people can vent and etc. But developing a sense of that, the criticism may be an opportunity, but how to present that, that critique. And sometimes people are their own critics, and how to overcome that. Okay. In these processes of examine ourselves, so we go through the stages of our life's purpose, because circumstances do change, our needs change, our goals change, perceptions and beliefs change. So there's so many combinations can happen. There could be tragic events in life. Example comes to mind is someone who enjoys mountaineering and may have an accident or fall and may not be able to do that. So there's so many things can happen in life. So our desired goals and the purpose that we seek, how, if that something changes, how do we adjust to that change? How do we find still solace and still our purpose, adjusting to the changes? And that's all honing the skills of life, our process to the mastery. No matter what life has given us, that we rise above, just like the lotus, we rise above those murkiness around us. Okay. Overcome inner battles. So just like this, image that you see here, what lies underneath is a lot more that is what was visible. And I like this quote from Khalil Gibran. I have clearly had been fond of his literature. The quote here, that he who reveals to himself what his conscience has prohibited commits a sin. And he also is a sinner who denied himself what his conscience has revealed. So in other words, that when we go through this process of self-discovery and we find that areas of the darkness, what lies underneath, and we let it there, now we have become aware of it. And in order to grow, have that self-growth and have that inner transformation towards peace, that's really important to do something with it. It could be at your strength and at your pace, but as long as an attempt is being made, so you go through that process of overcoming those inner battles. And my mastering life analysis was that life becomes composite result of circumstances and attitude, desires and choices, and knowledge and wisdom. So circumstances and attitude, circumstances could be anything. But if we have that inner strength as our core muscle, we can grow in any kind of adverse circumstances. It just depends on the depth of the difficulties. The depth of the difficulty depends on the individual's perception of the difficulties. So it's understanding that one can develop where you can be vulnerable and then where you can bring in that strength, because we are human beings. We are social species. To express our emotion in whichever condition we are, I find that it's needed. It's okay, but just we need to find the right places to be vulnerable, and where we have that support system that supports us in those circumstances, the growth takes place. Okay. And our desires and choices. The quote there I came across is, we promise according to our hopes and perform according to our fears. And a lot of time in these processes of our hopes and fears and the information overload that we get, suggestions and advice our loved one or well-wisher would give us, there's a lack of comparison. It's not always apples to apples, etc. So we are our own architects, that we understand what's really important to us, what's really relevant to us, and making that choice and decision. And that all comes with inner strength, because now you have to face that kind of criticism going against who are trying to be the well-wishers and supporters. So now all of that is, again, coming back to the core muscle of inner strength. The knowledge and wisdom. The knowledge is information only. Knowledge isn't plentiful. Knowledge can be gained without any expertise of the subject matter. Right now, we could type keywords in Google, and the ultimate source of knowledge, Google can give you millions of pieces of articles and questions and things and whatnot. So the knowledge is plentiful, but the wisdom is in how we apply that knowledge to our desired goals, to what's important to us, and how we should be taking steps towards whatever that is identified through our self-discovery process. And something else is that once we want to run and fly, and if the limits are imposed upon us, we as human beings, we don't like others restricting us. Those restrictions don't work very well. Just ruffling our feathers it may not be the right way to kind of deal with the particular situation. And I go into quite a bit through these discovery processes leading to the self-mastery into the full modules, or the differences between the knowledges and wisdom, and how to turn those knowledges as the steps towards wisdom. Okay. Continuing on, key number 6 is rearranging your outlook to rise above ordinary. I think I did touch upon this idea of rearrange your outlook and shift shift in your outlook and awareness is also to rearrange. Now, once we look at things change, we all have tons of examples in last 2 to 3 years since COVID, how much people's lives changed in so many ways. Their goals changed. Something that was not important has become important, or something that they didn't think that they ever would uh, see as a high priority has become high priority. So rearranging as external circumstances change, so we could still rise above whatever stops us, because that always comes through our inner strengths. Okay. And here in this area is where we come to the key 6, I think around 6th or 7th module. There is a lot in the book as well as in the course on about minds, talents, and gifts. So I defined mind talents are divided into three areas: interpersonal, mental, and intellectual. In interpersonal, talent is where we look at the communication, persistence, persuasiveness, confidence, motivation. That's kind of our skills. But the mental talents are the visualization, willpower, and imagination. That's other talent. Finally, the intellectual is the self-growth, where we go towards the self-mastery process of the self-actualization. Our belief system, our spiritual realization would change. And the power of visualization is that we would be able to see what lies underneath. And, what's above on the surface is just a small fraction of it. As I talked about earlier, as we promise according to our hopes, but perform according to our fears, that really, really becomes visible in our approaches as we go through life stages. The determination. I think we all can associate with that. Determination is just not in the words, but putting it into practice is a lot of persistent perseverance, and there has to be a purpose. Without a purpose, it's very difficult to be determined. Yes, we would complete our obligations and duties, but the determination shows up when there is a purpose. Okay. Finally, because life takes its own time, we cannot do a 30 days, 60 days, or 3 month or a 6 month process for becoming a master in our lives. It takes its own process. We learn from our circumstances. We create our own barriers. We create our own thick walls, and we have to dismantle them. Only we have to dismantle them. And we can only do that with having that our inner strengths as our core muscle to get through those barriers. And finally, that creating our own destiny is a process to self-mastery, because it's always is inner force. And this quote, maybe you have seen this image, and it was sent to me once, and I really liked it and like to share it here, that if his egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. And if egg is broken by inside force, then life begins. The great thing happens from inside. And so is the mastering life process, is that all is inner journey, inner transformation, tranquility, peace, calmness, because that is really a priceless experience to be able to find calm, even if you are in the middle of chaos. Because then you find strength to deal with chaos. Okay, so finally, the last key is the expressing love, tolerance, and compassion. most of us, we're pretty good at expressing love and compassion to others, to our siblings, family members, parents, children, people we care about. We can express our love in ways that relationship is, and we can even extend compassion to strangers. However, it's very difficult for most of us to express love to ourselves and compassion to ourselves. So I think, Katrina, if we could do the second poll.
Yes, we'll pull up the poll. So you should see the poll on your screen and you can click one of the options. Do you want me to read the questions
Please do.
again? Okay.
Please.
So before someone else points out my shortcomings, I would like to do a self-analysis. Doesn't matter to me. I am okay pointing out pointing out to me what I am not doing well, and or do you want to understand where to begin the self-analysis process? So you can, okay, we got 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Okay, we got 3 out of 3. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and then I'll share the results.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So when we say, folks, you have said that doesn't matter to me, I'm okay. Others pointing out to me what I'm not doing right. When that is done, sometimes we not always welcome that. So I always say that if we know what I can work upon myself, I always find that reprimand is better than making an attempt ourselves, but sometimes we may not know it. And as the last question was, they want to understand where to begin the self-analysis process. So I think the two of the stages that I talked about, the very initial visible, which is the part of self-discovery questionnaire that Katrina, you can share with attendees now, or anyone that would be joining later or would be watching this video, they can go through that too. The second part is that we go deep down. The third part of that self-analysis is that soul-searching questions. And so there is really a lot to discover about ourselves that we sometimes don't really take time to ask ourselves those questions. And this is all process of self-growth. So as I say, self-discovery to self-mastery, like honing a skill to become a master, whatever that skill is. So life asks us a lot of different types of skills at the different stages in our life, but also the different stages in what we are going through at the moment, from our social to family to work. And it requires different set of skills at the same time in the same stage. So there's a lot to learn about ourselves, and there are a lot of opportunities to learn from this program. And I just want to share that we are offering this a full 10-week course, and this begins on July 6th, the very first module. And there are extra bonuses in addition to the regular bonuses we have. In extra bonuses, there's a 2-hour of happiness show recording. This show, this information that I have here is based on Dalai Lama and 1,000 psychologists and experts had a seminar, and then they met year after that Dalai Lama gave them some a sort of project to do and come back after a year. So there was a lot of discoveries about happiness. So I had quite a bit of research done on that. So that's available as a extra bonus. 1 hour of self-talk to self-empowerment coaching session. And it's a 36-page step to success ebook and conflict resolution process guide. These are all extra bonuses. In addition to that, there are other bonuses, but I'll think that slide is there too. But in the course, there are 10 weekly 90-minute live sessions, a private Facebook community where people can connect with each other and talk about any processes. And there's a lot of information available in membership area, workbooks, PDFs, videos, and live training contents. And okay, that is all of them. Private course website, membership access area, material and e-guides, and downloadable course books, audio video recording, and special bonuses, as I showed. And these are irregular bonuses that regardless if anyone has joined, they will get a signed copy of the Mastering Life, which is the book the course is based upon. So I just want to hold this here if you could see it. Anyone outside of US, so we can provide a electronic copy. And 2 of the group coaching sessions, they would be included based on my experiences delivering these workshops over time, that I gather which were the most asked requested sessions. The one is I design it into inner struggles of current circumstances and living the dream. And the second group coaching session would be dealing with brokenness and turning into inner strength. Based on the participants, if there was anything we could tailor it to their requirements, I'm always open to. The third one is the $250 gift certificate that could be utilized any time to any other course or workshop until December 30, 2024. And this course, I would send the information to Katrina to include in. If anybody wanted to sign, there would be links to do that. Again, the happiness formula was I talked about. This is also part of the self-mastery, getting to self-mastery. We all strive for happiness, and the happiness formula. We talk quite a bit about that. Okay, so that's about it. And here is just a little bit bragging about myself that, as Katrina said, that I had another book. My next book is coming up this fall, Magic and Mindfulness. And there is also a workshop coming up in August. And I can also share that information too. And the book, we made it to bestseller during launch, but in May we had number 8 category in women in economy and women in business genre. So that was number 8. So it's a lot of timely topics for women of all generations, raising leaders of tomorrow. In addition to that, I would like to share that these are complimentary events once a month. Every second Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Magic and Mindfulness. Celebrate Life, that's a monthly coaching circle, very different topics each month, complimentary, every second Monday of the month. And Women Leadership in the 21st Century, that is the recent book. There are a lot of timely topics, as I mentioned. This is on third Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. It's a book reading. People can send their questions, I can talk about it, or there's a lot of interesting topics, power and persuasion, charisma and adaptability, a lot of interesting topics there that anyone can apply them. Okay, so I would open for questions. Katrina, I think ready for questions.
Hey, thank you. Sorry, my son is trying to tell me something. Okay, go ahead. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that great, lots of great content. I mean, I hope you took notes. I took notes, and I definitely want to, look back at them and see what, yeah, a lot of valuable stuff in there, chock full of tidbits. So yeah, does anyone have either a question or a comment? You can just unmute yourself and go ahead. Got a few more people were able to join us.
Yeah, I like it when you said we strive to be free and happy and we don't like it when people push us down, or that's so true. We want to pursue our goals, and we don't. Yeah, I can resonate with that one. It's so true.
Yes. The funny thing is, thank you for your question, Cynthia. The funny thing is that even if we reprimand a child doesn't like that. Right? So we grown ups, of course, we want to be able to adjust to circumstances, situations. It depends on who is saying that and how it's being delivered.
Yeah,
Probably we might be a little bit easy, but otherwise, if it comes in the form of criticism,
yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
yes, we always are on the defensive then. Thank you. I think Rhonda had a question too.
Go ahead, Rhonda. You can. Mute
Okay,
yourself.
yes, no, it went kind of quickly in the chat what is being offered.
Okay, all right. Would you like me to go back to?
Yeah, I can see it says 7 keys, and there's a digital download. We just click on this and
Yes.
okay.
So this was the it's a 10-week course, and of course there is a cost to it, but there are a lot of bonuses with that. I would send that information to Katrina so she can include in case if anyone wants to join that course. These are the extra bonuses, and then extra bonuses are for early sign up, and the other bonuses are a signed copy of the book. And during the 10 weeks, we decide as a when to hold these sessions, group coaching sessions, 2 of them, which, as I mentioned, that they are designed based on my past experience of 10 plus years of giving these workshops, what people mostly ask for. And the third one is the $250 gift certificate, the unique link that you would get, you could utilize anywhere within 18 months towards any other workshop or coaching sessions. So those were in addition to, so that today's session was as part of the Women Federation Award Peace Summer Refresh Initiative.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I posted those links in the chat. Like the first one I posted was the digital book. You can download that. That one's free. You can check it out.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll send out the other information with the recording and with the link again in your email since you registered.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can look again later. And then there were the three the other
I will send that
yeah.
to you in an email. Right
yeah,
away.
yeah, that'd be great. So then people can check it out, look at the course and all the different things that
Yes.
are available.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you, everyone. If there are no more questions, glad to have some people here, and I know there will be more people watching the recording. Actually, I checked the previous recording, and we had 51 views. So,
Wow.
People are checking it out. So it's good.
Good.
Even if you can come live, it's valuable. So thank you again, Ritu, for presenting and preparing and giving so much food for thought for all of us. And, you know, I hope we can all, yes, discover ourselves and master ourselves, right?
Yes, it was very, very enjoyable and very well put together. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
great. All right.